Hey, Sonia, how are you
Sanders.
doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good.
All right, so
And
we're about a minute in, Sonia. With your permission, I'll kick off on our kind of opening and turn it over to you and Brendan. Looking forward. And Brendan will obviously manage people coming in as they do. Some people usually show up a bit late. But welcome everyone to this month's WSBA Enterprise and Technology Working Group. Looking forward to Brendan's presentation on blockchain, Panini blockchain. For those of you who are not aware, this meeting, as all of our working group meetings, are subject to both our confidentiality and antitrust policies. So play nice and ask good questions. Brendan's presentation is really comprehensive. Those of you with questions, send them to me in the chat. Please do the hand raise first if you want to ask the question of Brendan directly, and we're happy to do that throughout the conversation. Zoom protocols, in the rare instance we get Zoom bombed, it's never happened before. We will end the call immediately with apologies to all. But other than that, I'm going to stop talking. Sonia, I'm going to turn it over to you.
so we're actually very lucky, guys. We have Brendan here, and he's an NFT guru, and they've actually implemented the platform on Hyperledger, which is a partner of WSBA. So I'm actually even more excited about that. So Brendan is actually going to present to you in terms of what NFTs are, in terms of how they've built the platform. And it's the only licensed platform that's available out there. As you see on the screen, it's their website where you actually can go and buy the cards. And it's a very established industry that they're trying to mobilize and innovate. So I'm really excited that they could do that. So I guess we can actually see this kind of inception in the Wall Street area too at some point in time. NFTs getting mainstream, and Brendan is going to share his experiences in terms of what are the challenges he went through, and in terms of what is the forthcoming challenges too that he sees in the market for adoption, and especially about the gas charges coming from Texas. I'm sure he's going to tell us more about how the gas charges are going to impact, and how this could be an inflation hedge too, and a good investment proposition. So Brendan, I hand the floor to you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for making the connection and giving me the opportunity to present today. Really excited about the organization, and super excited about where Panini is and what we're doing. So let me talk a little bit and introduce myself, and then I'll talk about Panini, and then we'll get into the NFT products. I'm going to charge through the presentation quickly so that we can get to the Q&A, but I'm happy to field questions anytime. So I'm Brendan Cooper. I lead digital transformation and the NFT platforms for Panini SPA. And we'll talk about Panini. I'm a 25-year technologist. I've raised venture capital, angel capital. I've been involved in startups, and I've also led enterprise Fortune 1000 enterprises as a technology leader. I've also founded a number of different technology related startups. So Panini is the global leader in collectibles. It is a 60-year-old company based out of Modena, Italy. And we've got about representation in about 15 other countries around the world. Our products are everywhere. Every 4 years, the Panini sticker album for the FIFA World Cup is a global phenomenon. We will lead and have the very largest reported sales in the toy category for about 5 months out of every 4 years. And people go wild over our sticker albums. They're less of a phenomenon in America. Panini entered the North American market in 2009. But while we've had trading cards, South America, Europe has had sticker albums. But with the trading cards, we've got officially licensed products with the NBA, the NFL, the English Premier League, FIFA, La Liga, and several hundred other licensors from around the world. And that background's important because when we think about entering the frontier and getting engaged with NFTs, we have an extra duty as we've got this 60-year-old brand that we're protecting, and we represent some of the largest and most recognized brands in the world. And we're also stewards of a 120-year-old established collectible category. And so and it's not a regulated environment, but certainly we work very closely with the licensors. And at this frontier, we have to be very careful. And that's actually forced a lot of design decisions that we've made. So for example, when we looked at the public infrastructure and the public blockchain infrastructure, we realized that we couldn't guarantee the customer experience. And we also knew that an NFT is a bearer instrument, and that required us to explain at mass market what a bearer instrument was, and that it meant that if you were going to lose your keys, that it would be gone forever. When we started on this, there wasn't multi-signature and social recovery methods inside wallets that were widely available. So what we did is we created a private blockchain with the expectation that we could federate it, we could create a consortium, or we could extend it to or create, a gateway and connect to public blockchains when they felt they were good enough. The add-on benefits to creating a private blockchain is that we were able to create what I believe are the industry-leading legal terms and conditions about what you get. We actually are able to give customers a really strong claim. And we'll talk about how NFTs are constructed in the legal environment of NFTs, because it's fascinating. And it's really important to what your understanding should be of an NFT and how we think about them. So let me go ahead and with
Brendan,
that.
one question.
Yep.
Brendan, one question for you here. Why did you go with a private blockchain and not a hybrid one?
So initially, we needed full control over the customer experience. And that's got that's a challenge that we've got to solve across a number of dimensions. One of them, our implementation is fully integrated with our e-commerce website. It's fully integrated with our mobile commerce website. And transaction times, varying gas fees, these sorts of things on the public networks are really quite problematic when you're trying to execute at scale. And that's another challenge that we've had is when you looked at least 2 years ago, the leading public blockchain would have been Ethereum with smart contracts and NFTs, and it wasn't ready for us, and we weren't ready for it. The technologies just weren't mature enough. The wallets weren't mature enough. The speed of transactions and the variable gas costs, even 2 years ago, were problematic. Let's see.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Brendan, for short, this is Barry Finkelstein. I'm with the Algorand network. So
oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So if at any point you want to address all those concerns you just had, we should really chat because that's where everyone else is doing it.
Well, Barry, I was recently was doing a deep dive on Algorand recently. So yeah, happy to do that.
Yeah. So you can, I can shoot you my information here on the chat. So be happy to chat with you. This fits right into what you just said, fits right into what I hear it 3, 4, 5 times a day from folks doing the same kind of general work, not as well perhaps. But
introduction for you, Barry, between you and Brendan and the Panini team. Happy to do that on our own.
Awesome, guys.
Okay, great. So let's jump into the presentation. We're going to come back to this website, and I'm going to show you what the Panini NFTs look like. When we launched this and January of last year in 2020 is when we launched the Panini NFT platform. We chose the Panini blockchain because crypto collectibles was a bit obscure. It's long. Our marketing people hated it. And when you talk about crypto, there was still quite the hangover from the ICO days, and it created a lot of branding problems for us. And so we're actually in the process. You can see from my background here, it's Panini blockchain. There's a rebrand coming up for Panini NFTs because now that 3-letter acronym has entered the public consciousness, and Panini didn't have to spend a lot of money to affect that in the market. So we kind of like our timing on that. Let's see. Let's go here. All right. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Okay, thank you. So we talked a little bit about Panini already, and we'll move on from here. I just want to reiterate, though, that when we're not regulated, but we definitely have, it's not a regulated industry, which is exciting. It's got a lot of implications for the speed of innovation in the NFT and at the intersection of NFTs and collectibles. But we do partner very closely with the licensors, and they've got expectations and involvement in products that we roll out and what we can roll out. So we talked about, or we could talk about the key objectives. We wanted to create the most collectible licensed NFT possible. And that's something that is, we instantiate technically, but we also have to represent legally. And I think at this time, Panini's really leading the industry in this way. When we talk about the thing you experience is the thing you collect, owning only a token is unacceptable. Right now, there are a lot of NFTs, and the terms of service across, and it's pretty much an industry standard. The NFT and the terms of service apply only to the token, the actual token that rides on the blockchain. The thing you experience, the audio file, the video file, the graphic image, and what have you, the video, you're not granted any interest in those. And that's a concern. And it's been something that we've made a point to engineer technically, and we'll get into that and represent it legally. So we've got the strongest legal claim. And again, with our technical implementation, we've tokenized these assets, individual trading cards. And when we say hashed, I don't know how technical we are in this group, but what we're talking about is creating a digest or an abbreviation of, say, a 10 meg file or a 2 megabyte file. And we can represent it uniquely using a hash algorithm and get a hash output that is this maybe 200 something character code. And that code can only be created based on the original input. So we can tie that to the blockchain so that it's immutable. So it actually rides on the blockchain. It's part of this Merkle tree, and it's not corruptible. And in that way, our collectors can always be assured and establish that the thing that they saw, the thing that they bought, is in fact the thing that's on the blockchain. And that's really important compared to what everything, how the industry is implemented today. And we're in the earliest stages of the NFT technology and the NFT collectibles in particular. So, the standards haven't emerged. There's no UL listing. There's no place for consumers or licensors or licensees to actually go and say, well, this one's constructed properly, or these terms of service. I mean, who reads terms of services? I mean, who does that? I do. I've read a bunch, sadly, but it's actually made me really alive to what it takes to represent these things legally. And it's difficult. And we'll get into that in a minute. So let's move on. So the Panini NFT blockchain products, right now we've got a digital NFT collectible. We've got a digital NFT collectible with a physical trading card as a gift. And this is a unique proposition that few other NFT vendors can actually do, because we produce millions of cards, collectibles, physical collectibles. And so our initial go-to-market strategy was to introduce our most motivated collectors into and pull them into a fully digital experience. And we've been successful with that. And it's been ramping from the beginning. The company's more than doubled its commitment for this year to actually creating these products. But so we've got these incentives. We've got powerful incentives in the terms of our physical product that we can use to get people to onboard to our platform and to engage the community and actually participate in our market for NFTs. And then finally, we've got a physical bonus card that can be redeemed for a digital NFT collectible. And what this means, so Panini sells millions of packs globally of cards, and these packs are opened up, and you get different cards inside of them of different levels of scarcity. What we're doing is we're adding an additional card to all of our packs, not all, but selected packs. And that card can actually there's a scratch off code, and it can be redeemed on our site. And this is another way for us to introduce our existing collector base to the, and pull them into the digital experience at Panini. It's worked really well, and we've been real pleased with the feedback. And what's interesting, what I'm describing here was our initial strategy. It's how we went to market. Since that time, the NFTs entered the popular lexicon. People now understand this three-letter acronym in the way that they are not quite, but like they understand a DVD or what a CD is, et cetera. So, and that's great for us and great for the category.
So which one do you see more adopted in terms of all the three categories? Which one do you see is people like, is it the bonus cards or is it the NFT?
Yeah,
or
so,
one of the...
Well, so initially the bonus cards, what's happened on our platform is the cards are in such, the digital only cards are in such high demand that, and we're selling the cards in sets, but not in packs. And what this means is you're purchasing packs at auction, and we're using a Dutch auction, because that's a great way to get a clearing price when you don't know how to price a novel product. But what we're finding is we've priced our market. The demand is high enough that there's a small set of collectors that are buying and keeping the prices at a really high level. And a pack where you have a chance to actually get a scarce card is going to let us create something that's more oriented more towards mass consumption. So right now we have cards that are selling regularly for $500 to $1,500 and as high as $65,000 for a digital only card. And that's too much for the casual consumer. We need a different price point. And the pack openings, which is coming up in a few weeks, we'll be launching that, rebranding to NFT. And that will give us a much greater reach from a market perspective, just because of the price point.
So the only place you can get it is probably at your blockchain store, or that's on your the Panini website, or it's an auction,
correct.
Right?
That is correct. This is a private blockchain operated by Panini, and at this time we don't have a gateway to public blockchain. It's something we've definitely contemplated. We certainly recognize the power and the promise of public infrastructure, and we're really excited about those possibilities. We've rolled out in the most conservative way possible to make sure we understand the technology, that we understand how to integrate it into our existing workflow. Panini's creating several 100,000 unique graphic designs every year, and it is a giant licensing and content machine, and it's really good at what it does. So integrating at scale has kind of necessitated this first step with the private blockchain on Hyperledger Sawtooth. And we're in a really good strategic place. We like where we are. We like how the public infrastructure is evolving rapidly and maturing. And we've got much better options now than we did, 24 months ago, 30 months ago, when we actually started writing code to do this. So if we look at the slide here, we've got the NFT blockchain sections. We've got a store, we've got an auction, a marketplace, and then we've got the unique codes that we were talking about. We're auctioning in different ways. One of the things that Panini's discovered as we've moved and featured our e-commerce platform more, it's typically a big box retail or a hobby distributorship model that we've operated against. And as we've explored the e-commerce, which is a much more growing in importance in our business, certainly in 2020, it's a spectacular growth with the e-commerce platform. We found that in addition to scarcity and chasing scarce collectibles, that the excitement and energy at a point of sale is really enhanced and engaging, and it creates lots of repeat traffic when we auction items. And there's a lot of different auction formats. You know, StockX has really done some great work pioneering the IPO for consumer products in the way that you know, IPOs have been run on the street for decades now. But so the Dutch auction is a declining auction. We've got a flash auction, which we like, that extends the auction at the end. It's normally an English auction, but it's time limited, and the time resets so that you can enhance, you create more energy and more excitement as the auction persists. So let's say the auction is a one-day auction, but in the last minute, any new bid extends the auction by 1 more minute or 30 more seconds. And in this way, we do 2 things. One, it's exciting to follow and it's exciting to watch, whether you're participating or not. Second, there is, for a lot of e-commerce, and especially for collectibles, you've got an army of bots and automated bots that are trying to snipe and enter bids at the last section of an auction. It creates a lot of scalability issues, and it's really challenging. And the questions come up: how do we on the chat? How do we limit the flash auction? We'll set a time. Like it'll go on for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But you're exactly right. It's a time limited flash component at the end of an auction.
So Barry has a question, Brendan.
Sure. I'm sorry, Sonia.
Barry has a question. Barry.
Yes.
I think you entered it in the chat.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assumed there had to be some kind of limit, or else this could go on forever and ever.
No, that's right. That's right. And you know, it's exciting to think about other auction formats. There's a Vickery auction, which we like. There's an IPO auction that we like, and I think we're going to continue to see innovation around this area, because the consumers really, they like it. They like participating in it. It's really fun. And instead of just having a straight purchase on an e-commerce buy now, it's a lot more engaging for the community. Let's see. So we talked about the public auctions, and public auctions are where users can take their NFTs and auction them and set up auctions to each other. And so we've got consumer to consumer auctions that we're supporting on the Panini platform. And then finally, the public gallery is where I can take my cards, my NFTs, and I can actually display them and put them up for view, and so that other people can view them. And I can also open those for bids if I want to. In other words, I can make them publicly viewable. And if I'm accepting bids, I can enable that feature, and other users could actually submit bids on the items that I have. And then finally, we talked about the unique code. Let's see, these are the brands. It's not exhaustive, but these are the ones that garner the most attention for now. We've got new relationships with in MMA and other licenses coming up. So I'm going to exit this, and I'm going to show you the Panini site. This is the homepage. You can see we're featuring above the fold, as they say, in our primary banner. But we've got a lot of, we sell a lot of physical products. We also have mobile apps. We've got Panini Blitz, the Panini FIFA Trader. Panini Direct is our mobile commerce, which is a mirror of the functionality here that we're looking at. And then we got the Panini Dunk. These cards these are digital trading card apps that we launched about 4.5 years ago. And we're really excited about the future of these. These are not connected to any private or public blockchain, but the possibility and the value to the consumers that already have a portfolio of these cards is really exciting. So let's go to the blockchain section, and we'll look at, this is the homepage. You can see there's different ways to navigate. Here are recently sold cards. You can kind of get an idea of the price points that are coming through. These are sales. These are first-time sales. Come up here. We can look at the blockchain store. If we've got some items up for sale. You can see we've got a counter. When we click on these items, we can see the declining auction. The declining auction is something that has been great. Again, we started with this because we didn't know what the market would be. We didn't know how to price these. And it's fascinating. I was just reading in a Discord thread yesterday that when we first launched, we had physical cards that were going with the digital card. And we now have digital only products that are selling for more than the physical card did a year ago, which is a really exciting development and really establishes the perceived value and how consumers are valuing these in a open market. So in this case, we've got the details.
Brendan, sorry, Brendan. Andrea has a question here. Andrea, go ahead. Andrea? Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I was just hoping that maybe you could take us through and click through and show us what it actually looks like. So if somebody was going to buy one of these cards, what they would be receiving.
Yeah, we're looking at it. This is it.
Yeah, but okay. So it's,
yeah.
This is it. So I for some reason I thought maybe there was some action or some video attached to it or something. So it's
no. So these are scarce digital goods. Okay. We've got we do have some that are animated.
So it's just this digital picture that someone can print out if they want.
Yes.
Or not.
Yes. Yeah, or not. We've got a card front, a card back, and these are scarce digital goods.
No, I got it. Yeah. So if somebody wanted to take that, I'm just trying from an intellectual property standpoint, just to understand what they're actually buying. If somebody wanted to take that visual, the visual, and print it on 1,000 T-shirts and sell it, could they do that? Would they have the legal right to do that since it's a unique digital good?
They do not. They have.
Oh, they don't. Okay.
Yeah, they get really strong non-commercial copyright use of these goods, and which is very different than the rest of the industry.
What do you mean by that? I'm sorry. What do you mean by that? I didn't follow.
Yeah. So the owner of these can display them. They can display them publicly. They can for non-commercial use. Okay. And those aren't rights typically granted across the rest of the NFT industry. Okay. In most of the NFT collectible industry, all the rights that are granted are connected to the token itself. Okay. And we're getting a little ahead in the presentation when we talk about how the NFT is constructed. But we have a non-fungible token that rides on the blockchain. And then we've got what we call metadata or data that actually either encapsulates or points to the thing you experience. In this case, a file. It could be a video file.
Yeah, so no, I get it. I just wasn't sure if there was something more than what we were seeing. But
yeah, no, you're looking at it.
Okay, I got it. Yeah. So so you're sort of on the intellectual property piece, you're giving him a non-commercial right to this digital image for them to keep and display as they, but to not create not to generate revenue from any commercial transactions that could arise from that. Could they put it in a digital museum and charge money to see it?
No.
No, can't do that either. Okay.
No.
Got it.
What
Just curious. Just curious.
Yeah.
The limitations on transferability then of the image, or the right to use the image?
Yeah. So it transfers to whoever the next owner is, and the current owner relinquishes all of those rights upon the transfer and purchase by another user.
Is this an exclusive arrangement, or who?
Yes.
So
yeah.
I buy the exclusive use to display and enjoy for non-commercial purposes this image.
That's right. And you can actually see the terms of service where we've got all of these spelled out, and we'll come back to them in the presentation. We'll talk about the law around it, because it's really interesting. Let's see, if we look at the public gallery, these are cards that people that have already been purchased. You can see there's no timers, there's no, we can actually make offers. In some cases, people can set a buy now price. And you can see the different content. So these NFT collectibles are, in December of 2020, there were about $100 million to date that had been spent on those. As of the first quarter of 2021, that number was about 2.5 billion. So you can see there's radical and really intense growth. And April was the largest revenue ever for the NFT collectible industry. And I'm expecting that to continue for a while. There's a lot of discussion about a bubble, and there are a lot of things that are frothy across the economy, and collectibles are in super high demand. But at this point, it's entered, well, there's just a lot of, there's wide distribution. We've got a lot of new participants in the category. Really excited about what that means long-term for digital collectibles.
Hey, Brendan, I'm sorry to interject. Yeah. I know we've got some questions coming in the chat, and we
had
that throughout the presentation. Dwayne, are you there? Dwayne?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Hey. So, yeah, my question is about photographs and photographers creating NFT hashes or tokens for their photograph, and actually making that a non-fungible unique item. I mean, is that possible? I mean,
yeah, there are a lot of photographers that are doing just that. They're taking their art and they're putting it up for sale. I wish, yeah, there's some fantastic examples, and some of the leading photographers in the world have entered. Some are holding off. They're skeptical, and there are reasons to be skeptical about what it means to actually own a what we think legally we think of as a non-rivalrous good. Okay, I can own it, and you can right-click it and create a perfect identical copy of the file. But I have the one that's actually on the public blockchain that the creator or the owner actually published. And so, when we start thinking about these things, we get into copyright law pretty heavily, and it really very rapidly gets into, well, what is collectible and how do we think about scarcity? I can create a copy of the Mona Lisa. I can pay people to create a visually indistinguishable copy of the Mona Lisa. But we know that the real one's in the Louvre. We know that it is backed up by a lot of provenance. And it's really expensive to make that copy, but it's feasible. In the world of, say, digital books, we can easily, it's probably easier to make a copy of a physical book than it is of a digital book on, say, your Kindle. Okay, so there's not a straight line in how we think about what is collectible. But what we're seeing though in the marketplace is the world and the globally, people are ready for virtual goods to operate like property. That's what they want. And they're expressing it in lots of different ways. And right now, this is the best available technology to actually implement that. I can see Andrea is very skeptical, and I can't wait to hear about that.
No, Brendan, I hear what you're saying. What I'm struggling with and what photographers have told me is I take a picture of a person or a likeness or a scene, and it's unique. That picture is unique. What am I actually, I can hash that token and associate it to that picture.
Yes.
On the blockchain. I kind of get that. But what actually did the purchaser actually buy? Did they buying the hash? That's what they're buying.
Well, no, I mean that depends on the terms of service under which it was purchased, and that's why I would say it's buyer beware. I mean, we really have to be careful in the NFT space because, let's go ahead and have the conversation in English, European, and American law. Virtual property, when we think it exists at three different levels. We've got the bits and bytes that reside on a disk, okay, or some substrate, some media, okay. We have the representation of those bits as a file, okay, like we see the files in our browser, or we go to the whatever our Explorer is, our file Explorer, and we can see the list of files. Those have almost no standing in law. They're like none. And the only standing in law that they have is whatever is established in contract law. And in this case, it's whatever the terms of service actually explicitly call out as what you're buying. And if it doesn't explicitly call out anything, then you're not buying anything other than the token, okay?
Right.
But then at the display layer, what you actually see, okay, what you experience, this does have law protecting it, and that's what we call that copyright law. And we also have intellectual property law and a couple other variants. But for our purposes, copyright law. And so virtual property has no standing in law except under contract law. And that's why this whole NFT space is, I mean, it's really pushing. It's well ahead of where the law is, and it's ahead of what technically can actually be delivered in some cases, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So
I'll just conclude my thoughts by photographers that I'm speaking with, and some of them are this is their livelihood, are thinking that this NFT could help them with provenance or security of their photographs, so that they can earn royalties on them as they're utilized by. So let's say somebody sells me a photograph and I have the NFT hash for that, and then somebody wants to publish that photograph, I might have access to the raw file to actually to license that for publication, and I would share in a revenue stream as the token holder, and the photographer would share in the revenue stream as the creator.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where this is going. I just wonder if that's something you guys are looking at within your platform.
Yeah. So right now we're as far as
Andrea's ready to head's gonna.
No, I can't wait to hear.
No, well, it's just that I'm a lawyer, so I kind of know how the law works, and I don't think the people talking about the law really know the law. So
I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know.
So that's why I want to interject and say, well, the token holder does this and this does that. And the truth is that we're in a lot of uncharted territories. But the fact is that the current law defines ownership, defines, rights and obligations. And those rights and obligations can be modified by contract if you're willing to give up something, right? But imposing a token or imposing some kind of structure doesn't in and of itself create anything. A token, as we know, doesn't create anything. You can only, you know, in terms of selling, you can only sell what you have. You can sell part of what you have. So, you know, if Panini has certain rights, then they can only, you know, they can only sell to the extent of the, you know, to the extent that they have those rights to sell.
Absolutely.
And part of the, it gets blurry when you have, when it's unclear who has the ownership, when it's unclear what's being sold or licensed. Is something being licensed or is it being sold? Do you own the thing, or do you just have a, you know, a license for a period of time? You don't, do you own it? Absolutely. We didn't discuss it, but I would suspect that Panini probably makes some kind of fee, gets some kind of sum every time there's a transfer. I would be shocked if they didn't, if it wasn't built into their economic model. So if that's the case, do you actually own the thing outright? I mean, it looks like what's happening is sort of it's a license. And what Dwayne was saying about the photographer and what the photographer owns, you know, it's easy for us to wrap our head around the fact that if a photographer takes a picture, they've created that artwork, right? They've created that, that intellectual property, the photograph. And then if they're very careful about it, and let's say they decide they create an NFT out of it, then they're creating the terms if they did it correctly, if they do it correctly. You know, if they create an NFT, they create the terms pursuant to which the NFT gets sold. Or you could set up like, you know, whatever it is, if it's a series. I see Ron has his hand up. I love it.
No,
I'm going on a rant. I can probably rant for a while longer.
No, Brendan, we should have booked you for 2 hours. I know, I just want to be respectful of some of the other questions coming in as well. And Andrea, obviously we could always continue the conversation, but Garrett, are you there as well?
I'm here.
Hey, Garrett.
Hi, everybody. So I had a quick question going back to the cards. If there are always actors out there, whether they're local or not, and don't really pay attention to laws, you know, like Andrea was kind of alluding to, I suppose. So I'm looking at a picture that I want to bid on. I want to be able to open it up to look at detail. So can you show me how I would be able to do that, and also ensure that there's no, you know, that I can't do a screen grab of it or things like that?
Sure. Yeah. No. You know, there's. I can't prevent anyone from getting a screen grab. Maybe I can prevent them from getting a screen grab, but I can't prevent them from getting a really high resolution external photo of a high resolution monitor, right? You've always got the copy problem, okay? Because that's not a problem that is going to be solvable. What we can do, and what we are doing, is connecting these to a token. The token's immutable. We can connect the content to the token in an immutable way. And we can also connect these legal rights under which that we're establishing through the terms of service of our site. And, you know, the implementation across the industry it's just the Wild West. There's a lot of different implementations. When someone brought up the possibility of, you know, what if are we exploring, is Panini exploring the other kinds of things you could do with it? And, you know, what the industry is looking at is rights servers, Oracle servers. So let's say, because Panini only has certain rights, we don't have the t-shirt rights, okay? The leagues retain those rights. They've got different distribution channels and models, but we can imagine a future where maybe those rights are something that would be interesting to grant to holders of the collectible, whatever the collectible is, and those rights could be expanded, or they could be published in a time-limited way out on public infrastructure so that it's accessible, and it grants rights to do, you know, to make a t-shirt or to make a figurine or whatever it is. And that's the world we're headed to. But the infrastructure doesn't exist to do that yet. And I don't know if I answered your question, Garrett.
Well, also, I'm just interested if I was looking at a card and I want to expand it because I want to, you know, look at the detail of it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Let's look at that. We'll go to these are actually the cards I own. I've been pretty busy, so I don't have a lot of them. let's see. So I've got a transaction history that I'm publishing, and this is, I can copy this image, I can save it, I can do different things with it, but actual transacting it and the ownership of it resides on this platform.
Right.
Again, that's typically going to be true of all the other places, all the other participants in the NFT industry. Okay. So blockchains are really expensive to operate, and they're even more expensive to store data on. So when we look at most NFT content, and we're going to call it metadata, it is stored off-chain, and what rides on-chain is a pointer to the location where it's stored off-chain. And that in itself is quite a technical limitation, because you've got companies that go out of existence, you've got pointers that get corrupted, and that item is gone. And so now you just own a token, you don't get to see the thing that you bought. It's not a common problem, but it does occur. And it's technically, that is a completely solvable problem. There are a lot of solutions rapidly emerging, and it'll be a problem that's solved very effectively, probably now, and certainly by the end of the year, by some of the solutions that have emerged.
Well, would those solutions be to create different classifications of rights associated with different tokens? In other words, you're trying to have some uniformity, some certainty,
right,
and some volume of transfer, which would call out for someone creating, type A, a type 2, a type 3.
Correct.
Having someone, whoever that someone is, a dirty word, issuer, but the creator standing behind from a commercial standpoint, the rights, or being responsible for defending claims of infringement.
Right. So absolutely. So when we look at at what's happening in the industry, there's no standards, and there's no taxonomy of how the NFT is sold and what rights connect to it. So if you go to the Panini and you buy their NFT, it's got different rights than if you go to Nifty Gateway, or if you go to Mintable or Rarible or So Rare. There's all these other participants, and they have their own interpretations. And frankly, at this point, consumers seem to be pretty indifferent, but over time they'll care. Right now, everybody wants to get involved in the space, but it absolutely is essential that individual NFTs carry with them those rights, but the technology doesn't exist. I'm working with a lot of people that are trying to establish rights oracles and different content codes that'll serve this particular industry.
Brendan, if I'm sure Sonia warned you, the Wall Street Blockchain Alliance members tend to be very, very engaged.
Yes,
and we've got a bunch of questions queuing up, and I just want, again, be respectful of the attendees as well. Cindy, are you there?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm here. And I want to ask, we talked a lot about the, still in development challenges, but I want to focus more on the potential opportunity of this market because it's still very nascent, right? I'm just trying to understand what kind of users are your target audience, because some people might like the physical collectible, right?
So,
and what's the profile of that user? What is the potential market opportunity for this? And then whether you might think about extending your platform to other illiquid assets like art, coins, and other things. Amazon start out selling books, and we know where it is today. Is Panini thinking about other use cases besides sports?
Sure. Well, we certainly have created entertainment products in the past, but what Panini does in in its very established collectible category. We've got these really established brands. And so, you know, when I look at the different options, one, for NFTs generally, the technology is going to extend to supply chains all over the world. It creates all kinds of new business models, different custodial relationships that haven't existed in the past. And that's because, one, the authentication technology of physical goods wasn't strong enough or good enough. And two, being able to have aftermarkets, large aftermarkets for the physical goods. So, for example, there are startups right now that are taking trading cards and they're offering them for sale. They custody them, okay? They have control. They have them in their special vaults, and users can trade them and participate in a market of the items. If they want to call that, they can exercise an option and have it shipped to them, or they can just have it sitting in their portfolio, custodied by the physical item, custodied by someone else, and they can continue to trade that item on the aftermarket and try to realize some gains on it. And that's actually in play today. That's happening now. There's this increasing financialization of the collectible category in general. There are a lot of institutional investors that have entered the market, both for the digital only and also for the physical products. To me, I look at it as a inflation hedge, I guess. I mean, that, you know, but there are a lot of institutional investors entering into the market. And so, but these different custodial arrangements that are possible, that's exciting. There also, I can get a loan against an NFT using all the decentralized finance infrastructure that's out there. There is already fractionalization and fractional ownership of collectibles that's supported through DeFi infrastructure. There's also bundles of collectibles, digital only collectibles. And you know, you can bring in investors on that. So all that's happening now, and that innovation is happening, and it doesn't fall under, at this time, any you know, regulatory regime or agency. And that's, I think we're going to see a lot of innovation in this category that'll get fed back into decentralized finance, just because we can operate with the less involvement from others.
Brendan, I think we just have to skim through the rest of the slides, and
yeah, that's fine.
And some of the questions, I think we have to come back to you guys.
Yep.
Sorry, Kate and Andrea. In the interest of time.
Yeah, you know, so the questions are not very are great, and they're not very technical. But maybe I'll just run through this. There's we chose Sawtooth. I've already mentioned a lot of these. Sawtooth was a great choice for us. It's enterprise class. It's got a lot of technical innovations, and the people and the companies behind it originally were really strong when we chose it. It was a great option, and it's continued to be a great option for us. We're about to put it to the test. Our pack openings, we're forecasting unbelievable volumes, and so we'll be putting it to the test technically. We talked about this already, the non-fungible token. We've got the token, we've got the metadata, and then we've got a bundle of legal rights that are established through the purchase. And so we kind of talked through that. But just for anyone that's involved in the NFT space, it's really, really important as a consumer to read the small print and know what you're getting. This is more of a technical slide, and it's more about the architecture of what we've created from a system standpoint. So I'll skip that, and that was pretty much it. I'm happy to field whatever questions we've got remaining.
Kate, would you like to go with your question? Kate?
Hello. Hi.
Hello, Kate.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much. So it's a really tremendous information you're getting this point, and I really personally appreciate that. My question is related, like, what if the one of the owner of this picture of the art piece, or even like the player, wants to donate? What happens in that particular? Is it like they will be able to transfer NFT and losing their rights on their like ownership rights, or how that can be defined, or any possibility of that? Thank you.
When you say donate, are you thinking, so the answer is there has to be a transaction to transfer, and of course that could be done at any small increment, but we don't have a facility to trade or barter, and that's because it comes with a lot of complications that we didn't want to handle. More generally speaking, with NFTs, I think succession rights are going to be really important, and again, very few of those are contemplated in the terms of service or the end user license agreements that I'm seeing out there. But when we think about something being property, and this really slippery definition of property that NFTs they're trying to assert themselves as property, but there's plenty of established property law that has nothing to do with a virtual good. And so, we're kind of in this netherworld where, there's a lot of open questions, but again, I go back to the fact that the world, the digital natives, the people that are spending lots of time and increasingly larger percentage of their lives in digital environments, they understand virtual goods. They want virtual goods as property, and they want to collect them, and they want ownership. Whatever that means to them, they want it. They want to claim on it. And so the law and the technical capabilities are still catching up to what the market wants. And what we have now is the very earliest iteration of it. So I think the future is really strong for this category.
Brendan, we've only got a couple of moments left, and I think we've got a couple of questions. And my dear old friend Andrea, I think you have another question.
Yeah, I just had two really quick ones. Just thinking about. So it seems like you're first a baseball card. You created these baseball cards, and now you've taken advantage of the tech to extend your brand. And I'm just wondering about. I was thinking about like the T-shirt company that has the license, and everybody else that has a license. Couldn't they also create NFTs and have you could buy a digital T-shirt that you could put on your digital players, and would that be? Do you see that as competition, or is that complementary?
Yeah. So overall, I think it's going to be complementary. I mean, the overall size of the market for licensed goods is exploding right now. For all that, like some of the things you just said, I haven't imagined yet. But now that you said them, it's like, oh yeah, that's totally doable.
At first I thought maybe it'd be a competition because it's the very same image in a digital format. But then, like I said, then I thought, well, maybe it's different. Maybe they have their avatar in their games or in their virtual life, and they put on their T-shirt and they walk around with their digital, card in their hand and whatever. So, and I guess the other question is, you were talking about that the different NFTs have different standards. And of course, I'm thinking, of course they would. You go into a store, I mean, different products have different terms. So why would you expect NFTs to all have the same standards? They have different producers, they have different creators. So.
Sure. No, and I think that's reasonable. What's, I guess the challenge is as a new category, it seems to me that a lot of people are representing their NFTs as property. And they're making really strong marketing claims that simply aren't backed up by and other people are making socially.
You mean there's actually fraud in the space? There are fraudsters and hucksters?
There is.
You gotta be.
There is. And by the way, that creates a fantastic opening for the established brands like Panini to step into that and say, we have a clear vision and we're going to defend collectability. We stand for collectors. We stand for 120-year-old category, and we are focused on delivering the most collectible digital good that the technology and the law will allow.
Sounds like a good ending.
we are just after 12. We're going to try to squeeze in one last question, Dwayne. I think you're talking about 3D printing, and we're going to make it.
Again, a lot of my focus on NFTs is trying to merge the physical world with the virtual world. Like the photographs can be physical, they can actually be printed, and 3D printing files. I've been asked about potentially being able to use NFT and hashing files so that if you want to buy a model or a file to actually print something, you could buy a version of that, but somebody actually could buy the model and then they could have the rights to sell tokens against it that could unlock the file for single use printing.
Absolutely, Dwayne. In fact, that's already happened. The author of those patents was Nike.
Yeah.
About 12 months ago, Nike came out, and it's an absolutely brilliant play so that users can come in, they can create designs. Anyone can create designs of shoes. These are 3D models, and then they can license them out. So overnight, they can create an absolute global army of people repping their own co-branded designs on Nike's website. For their own shoe designs, and there can be different, and they actually get a royalty on their design. It's a fantastic model, but there's a lot of possibilities in that space.
Because just to end, the manufacturers or manufacturers that provide parts or for goods that are out of original equipment manufacturers, parts that are no longer available, they want to allow folks to actually create the models to actually print these parts. But they want to license, the OEMs want to actually license it to outside their own companies.
Right.
It's very interesting. I think it's fascinating. It really is.
Yeah.
And then we're a little over, which usually happens. We definitely have to have you back. We do a virtual happy hour every Thursday. If you could join us later on today, that'd be great. Sonia, Brendan, again, thank you for a wonderful presentation. Sonia, closing comments?
Thank you, Brendan. I think everybody's very excited, and we probably have to do another session with you.
2 hours.
And probably a fireside chat, like we were discussing earlier, right? We'll get David in also, and Bradley, and we do a fireside chat. So that's the other thing on the cards, guys. And look forward to the invite for that. There will be a fireside. If not in person, we will do a video of it. Thank you very much, Brendan, for coming in.
All right. You bet. Thanks, everyone.
Thank everybody else. Bye.
Yeah.